Hi everyone, this is Ellen from the Astrology Journal. I'm just continuing with my thoughts about the archetypes and child and human development. So I did two videos already, and I'm just continuing with that. And just a reminder, I'm not a psychologist or a counselor or trained in any way. These are just my own thoughts as I'm trying to work this out in relationship to my own healing, but also as it relates to the archetypes in astrology. So this is another quote from Stanley Greenspan. It's on page 39 of his book, First Feelings, Milestones in the Emotional Development of Your Baby and Child. It goes, "It is your sensitivity to your infant's needs and your ability to provide the special patterns of care that will allow her to grow and flourish over these first few months. It is your help in comforting her that shows her how to be soothed and relaxed. She cannot do this for herself yet. You must guide her, but she will learn. Treasure your baby's growing ability to be calm and alert. From this foundation, she will take the leap into love." So this really is a continuation of what I was saying in the other two videos, but I was thinking this time more in terms of the context of the culture in which we grow up in. So what if we grow up in a warrior culture? And so in the warrior culture, we're going to be encouraged to shut down our connection to our sensitivity. Um, it's not so I grew up as an athlete, for example, and I mean sissy, pansy, back in the day, queer, I'm gay, by the way, back in the day, queer was considered an insult. um, it is not okay to be in touch with your sensitivity, and you, as an athlete, I did this. The reality is the best athletes are the ones who are most in tune with their bodies. But the way that I used my athleticism, my training, was to shut down. I used my ability to shut down my connection to force myself to do more. So, if the culture that you grow up in does not understand, does not value sensitivity, then you're going to have caregivers who are going to encourage you away from that, and inadvertently, without realizing it, encouraging you away, preventing you from building the foundations of intimacy and love. Um, so when I'm thinking about archetypes for myself, and again, I primarily use the astrology for myself, and I also do look at lunation charts. But I'm thinking always from my own kind of process, and that's where I'm getting my information from. So when I'm looking at Taurus, and I'm having a hard time connecting with other people, like somehow that's shut down in me, then it might be helpful to be, in my case, it is helpful to think in terms of the culture that raised me, not to blame, not to, project, not to whatever, but to understand the context. And then that allows me to start, now that I understand what Taurus is about and developmentally what its purpose is, I can start to kind of unpack all that and deprogram all that, you could say. And I can start to engage differently with the archetype and with myself. And I can start to, so if before I was shutting out any nurturance that might come my way because I was just, that was kind of the wiring and that's kind of what happened. Now I can start to challenge that a little bit, start to question that, and start to work with myself within that, and start to shift those patterns. But so again, the idea that the warrior culture, and interestingly, Aries comes before Taurus. Aries is the first archetype, the first sign in the zodiac, and it can be the warrior. Aries can be the warrior. So it's square. So Taurus is opposed Capricorn. Capricorn is about form, and it's about so it's about manifestation, and we do that in form. And to be able to manifest in form, we have to have containers and limits. So to have containers, we have to have limits. To have this body, this is a container. It has limits. I am this. I am not what's out there. So that is essential for us to be able to exist. If we make a vase, that is a form. Whatever it is, it's essential, but it can be too restrictive. Um, so that's uh, so that's a challenge. But the other thing too is that Capricorn is our traditions. It's kind of like our culture that's been encoded into traditions, institutions, governments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if we have a warrior culture that's going to be encoded into traditions. Opposite of Capricorn is Cancer. So part of that tradition is going to be how we raise our kids, how we nurture, or just how we raise our kids. Cancer is the infant and the baby growing up, and so that's going to have that's going to affect how when we come into the world. It's going to affect our environment in terms of its ability to respond to us and allow us to access our emotion, our sensitivity, and our emotions. But we're talking about Taurus, so our sensitivity and our senses, and that is going to restrict our ability to love. And so then we kind of have this negative um, reinforcement. I'm not sure if negative or positive reinforcement in terms of science. I I don't know how that works, but I'm just thinking we'll have like a negative spiral. We'll keep reinforcing what keeps us isolated and alone. That's Capricorn, isolated and alone, as opposed to what gets kind of creates a loop of engagement and connection. So you can see how all the archetypes factor in. It's not just so Taurus is impacted by Capricorn because Capricorn is what's encoded in our traditions, and those have an effect on how we raise our kids. But then the other piece of this is then we can use that knowledge, we can use that understanding once we start to understand development and what's actually supposed to happen, and what actually uh, grounds us and sets us up for success in our life in terms of being able to participate in the world and engage in ways that are nourishing and nurturing and allow us to experience love and enter into love. Then we can start to work with the archetypes in a way that's healthy. So, for example, knowing that Taurus correlates based on what I'm reading in Greenspan's book to 0 to 3 months old, and that stage of development has to do with getting in touch with our senses, using our senses to start to, or you could say to start to orient to the world, to start to use those to help us regulate. So we look at our mother, and mother smiles and beams at us, and that helps us calm and soothe ourselves. So understanding, that's understanding the development, and that the next step of that's the foundation for developing love. That's the foundation for emotional connection. Well, then I start to understand. So now I can look at my chart and be like, I have Taurus here, and I have Taurus as significant in my birth chart. Taurus is here, so now I can, and I'm having these experiences, and it's like, oh, okay. So I can start to unpack all that, start to work with all that. For me, it helps because all that information is out there, but this gives a focus for the information. Now I can understand it in a way that I can use. It's almost like, for me, it's almost like astrology. I'm not really too concerned if it's scientific or not, if there's a causal factor around it or not. That's not of interest to me. But it's almost like it's a really great learning tool. It's a great mnemonic. Is that the word? For you can start to see patterns and interactions between things, and that already I'm seeing is helpful with regard to learning human development. Okay, I hope that made sense. Anyway, I thank you for listening. If you have any thoughts or ideas, I'd appreciate hearing them. I'm interested in conversations around this, so we'll see how that goes. But again, thank you for listening. Okay, take good care. Bye.